Hi, today we're going to be talking about 3 things you need to know when you're buying fruit trees from a big box store. And this isn't anything I'm going to be bad-mouthing big box stores. I bought fruit trees from them, but there are some things you kind of need to know. I did kind of write things down just a little bit to keep my mind focused. First thing is, when you go to the big box store and they got that big display in which they've got, you know, all these different type of plants, these small kind of containers, and they've got, you know, gooseberries and jousterberries and blackberries and blueberries, and sometimes they'll even come in with those little plastic bags with the bare root plants, and I'll put those in there, and there'll be trees about this tall. And the biggest problem with those plants, okay, when you first come in, is that they're inside. And they bring them inside the store and they sit there. By the way, it's fixing to rain. And they sit there and they're in 70-degree weather, round the clock. I think they're in Hawaii. Those plants are going to start pushing out growth. They're going to break dormancy. And the second thing you have to consider is they were put in those little bags when they had moisture when they put them in the bags. However, after they're put in those bags, no one else ever waters those bags again. So they're going to slowly dry out. So when they first get those plants in, your survivability is not that bad. However, the longer they sit, the lower your survivability is going to go down. Every day they sit there, they're going to get worse. So if you're going to buy those plants, get them when they first come in. Get them before they start breaking dormancy. Because if they break dormancy and then you buy that plant and you put it outside, it's going to suffer some winter damage. So be aware of that. Be aware that, you know, if you want to go that route, do it early, okay? I personally don't like a lot of those plants, but, you know, you can do it. I have bought them in the past. The second thing you need to find out, is that plant survivable in your area? Okay, first thing you have to realize when they're selling in the big box stores, those displays they have, or even the plants outside, a lot of times they sell the same plants in zone 9 as they do in zone 7. You know, they don't really, you know, pick different plants. My dog's driving me crazy because he walks back and forth in that place. Get him where you can. Okay, so step back. Back. Okay, sorry about that. He's keeping the tomato plant. He keeps walking back and forth. He don't need to be walking there. But anyway, sorry about that. We just don't edit stuff. Most people edit that stuff out. I don't, because I don't really know how to edit. But anyway, whenever you get those plants in, they're there to sell that plant. Those plants may not grow in your area. Case in point, they sell a bunch of lime trees here. So people buy those lime trees, they'll put them out in their yard, they sell them in Austin also, you know, Austin, Texas. They're not going to survive here outside. You know, they get damaged at 32 degrees. So, and actually they can be killed at 32 degrees if it's the key lime. So they just really don't produce, but they will sell a bunch of them because people say, hey, citrus grows down here, let me get that tree, and it doesn't work. So make sure those plants are adapted here. The gooseberry I talked about earlier, it is a cold weather plant, does not like the heat. It's not going to survive down here unless you do some really special things. Jousterberry, same way. So you just kind of have to know your plants. Drive around the area, look at the plants that you see out there. If you see a lot of those plants, like if you drive around in our area, one main fruit trees you're going to see is a fig tree. You see a lot of them. There was a place that had a pear orchard. You go out and buy pears. So if you get the right variety of pears, pears grow down here. You will see a bunch of peaches and plums sold here, but you don't see them out in people's yards. Can you grow them? Yeah, kind of. But it's not one that they're not really adapted for this area, and usually they don't survive very long. So drive around, see what your neighbor's got. If they're growing it, you can grow it too. But if they don't grow it, there may be a reason for that. Blueberries is another one. You know, hey, you can grow blueberries. Can you? Yeah, but you know, that plant may not grow in your yard. blueberries require a acidic soil that's well drained. Well, down here we have acidic soil, but most of our soils are not well drained. You put that in a clay soil in our area, that blueberry is not going to make it. Even though we produce a lot of blueberries in the area, you have to have the right type of soil. So look around your neighborhood, same type of soils, do those plants grow here? And number 3 is that variety of plant adapted for your area? Down here they sell a bunch of Alberta peaches. That's just the old-timey peach that my great-grandfather or my grandparents would have raised when they was kids, and they want it. It's a old heirloom variety that people just really want down here. The problem is there's a thing called chill hours. And chill hours is this temperature between 32 and 45 degrees. And plants have within their genetic makeup that they have to have a certain number of those plants to be able, a certain number of those hours to be able to know when to break dormancy in the wintertime. So if you have a plant that requires 700 of those hours to break dormancy and all you get is 500, that plant's not going to break dormancy until way late in the year and up until the springtime. And those buds, them flower buds themselves are going to deteriorate, and either they're not going to bloom or they're going to bloom and they're not going to pollinate because it messes up the pistil, and the flower is degraded and it doesn't produce. Most of the time they won't even bloom. And every year is a little bit different, but you need to know what your average chill hours for your area is. And when you find that out, compare that to, when you find out that variety, when you find out the number of hours you have, find out if that variety is close to that number. Most people say within 100 hours, give or take, of chill hours. So if I'm in about a 550 chill hour range, so anything 650 to 450 is right in my wheelhouse. That's a good one to get. Now I actually have several, peach trees, so I have a range. I go all the way down to 250 chill hours up to about 700, 750. By the way, the Alberta peach is like 850. So maybe one out of every 10 or 20 years we get a cold enough winter that tree will produce. And the peach trees down here live about 6 or 7 years. So go figure. And you can look that up, find out what they got some little maps to tell you, close to what your chill hours is. And you're going to have to look that up before you go to the store. And those stores are going to sell all kinds of chill hours varieties. Now these chill hours actually sometimes will influence blackberries. So blackberries, we tend to get enough chill hours. There's a few blackberries that we don't, but it really affects peach trees and plum trees, apples, pears. If you get a pear tree that's got a high chill hours, it's never going to bloom for you. It's never going to produce. Now you can go lower, but the problem going lower is they may bloom early. Okay, do I have one? It's kind of raining. I've got some trees that bloomed early this year, and I have them sitting out, and they bloomed, and then we got that 13 degrees the other day. I didn't have room in the garage to put them. All those blooms are dead, okay? It might still have some buds that have not come up yet, so it still may bloom some more, and I may get some fruit that way, but they just bloomed too early. During the Snowmageddon, I had peach trees that February 15th that had already fully bloomed out and fully leaved out. And we got that Snowmageddon, and it got down to 12, 13 degrees, and it killed the tree because the tree had broke dormancy. It thought winter was over with. It's fully growing, and all of a sudden you hit it with, 12-degree temperatures. So that actually lost a couple of trees just for that reason. They broke dormancy too early. And once they break dormancy, they lose all the cold hardiness, and that was the problem. So if you go too low, you have that problem. But going too high is even worse because you never even get any blooms, so you never even have a chance. So that's things to consider before you ever walk into that store. I will say with one of your potted plants, you can get like this that's outside. That's your best bet. Those sitting outside are good. You don't necessarily want the biggest tree they got out there. You want the limbs to be a little bit lower down, but this tree is fully growing. Now, I will say if you buy a mail order tree that's bare rooted and you get it early in the season, like now, they're shipping them out now for our area, that tree will actually do better than one that's in a container, because these container trees will grow in a circle, and they'll circle that tree. So you get this plant that's growing around, and then as that root goes around that main stem, or the main below ground, it will strangle the tree. Also, the roots tend to keep growing in that circle if you're not careful, so that can be a problem. Doesn't always happen. We had when I was in West Texas, we had a pine tree that they grew in pots, and they set them out after that. One tree did fine, the other one, the whole root ball for that tree, the tree was head high, was not doing real well. The whole root ball was this size. It was the size of this container. Those roots never went outside of that container. And it was dying, so we just went ahead and we was gonna dig it up, so we dug it up. When we pulled it up out of the ground, that's what we found. So that does happen. It can happen with the trees. But main thing is, make sure that tree's adapted. Make sure that tree can grow. And then make sure the tree's gonna be alive. That's why you don't wanna get a tree that's in the store, because that tree, it may already be dead and just don't know it yet. So that's just 3 things you want to consider. You know, I have no problem with the big box stores. I do think that your local nurseries will have a tendency not to have some of the trees that's not from down here, because they're not going to be selling you a gooseberry or a jousterberry or a honeyberry. You know, they know they're not adapted for here. And I guess to kind of run through for here, peaches and plums, they're kind of iffy proposition, but that's more because the diseases that are out here. Pears are pretty bulletproof wherever, if you get the right variety that's the right chill hours, and especially don't get one that's got too high chill hours. Apples do not do well in this area. There is some low chill, it's because of chill hours, because we do have some low chill hours. Anna and Dorset Golden is 2 that do okay. We don't have good rootstocks for this area, so some people have success, most people don't. You also got some pollination issues and things of that nature, but you're going to have that wherever you go. But do your research. I had one I think called Sweet Dreams or something. It was a nectarine. I looked at it at HEB and it looked really nice, and usually HEB does a pretty good job of it. I didn't buy it. I went by and went on the internet and checked. It had 800 chill hours. It will never produce for me. So even I can, try to resist that urge to, hey, I see that plant, I want to go out and buy it. Just make sure that plant's adapted for here, and make sure that you get the chill hours so that tree will fruit. Anyway, hopefully this has been helpful to you, and see you next time.